everybody. Jake right here. Pleased to be back with part 2 in the series describing my life and times as a cocktail guitarist. The link to part number 1 is in the information below. You'll want to check that out. Kind of talk a little bit about my background and how I got here and what I do. And basically I make my living off playing solo guitar. I call it a cocktail guitarist because, you know, for all practical purposes, that is kind of the setting, the typical setting of my gigs, restaurant, cocktail events. And in this series, I'm going to lay out all my secrets, basically everything that enabled me to get to this point, from repertoire to choice of equipment. Yeah, I know. No, seriously, I have equipment. How to deal with travel, negotiating your contracts. But really, at the heart of it all is how to play like a piano player, really, and get those gigs where we've all watched these piano players that show up to the gig early, play an hour's worth of cocktail music, make the big bucks, and go home early. And there's no reason we can't do the same. At the heart of it all is the playing, how to play in this style. So in the first video, I started talking about my main, most basic technique, which is the bass and melody only technique, which is the first step in having you starting to sound like a piano player. And in today's video, we're really going to explore this technique. Today's lesson also comes with a PDF and even a full-length video lesson. The information on how to obtain those, again, that's below. Click expand the information below and you'll see all that information. Also in the information below is a link to my Patreon page. These videos, as it turns out, take a surprising amount of time and effort to prepare. So please help me continue doing what I do, and hopefully we can get this series off the ground. All right, let's start with some music. And one of the aspects that I'm going to explore in great detail, I'm sure over many videos, is going to be repertoire. I'm going to go over the decades, the past 100 years really, and how to choose music from all these decades. And one of the most prolific, really, decades in music that you can bring to your cocktail hour is the 70s. And you can probably see these Bee Gees albums here. And the tune that we're going to be working on is How Deep Is Your Love? And it's a gorgeous tune. Of course, that's a matter of taste. But what is clear is that this is a hugely popular tune. Anybody who was a kid in the 70s will remember the song, or a teenager. And that's the demographic that you're kind of aiming for, people who can tip you at the gig. So this is a great song to work on. As it turns out, and this is going to be another aspect that we're going to work on, jazz improvisation. This tune really lends itself to great improvisation. It's not a swing tune in the classic sense. But it can be played kind of with a light Latin, soft rock kind of feel that really lends itself to jazz improvisation. Great changes. We're going to work on all that separately. So what we're going to do today is not really dive into the harmonies or in the content of the tune as such, but we're going to deal more with the tools that enable you to manipulate this content. So the basic idea is that you want to play the melody as it needs to be played. You can read it from a chart. You can hear it from the recording. Ideally, you want to try to imitate the melody as you hear it in the original recording. And along with it, you want to try to play a very simple, very basic bass movement, bass figure, that if not imitating the original, at least is a credible bass line. And what is a credible bass line in a song like this? I would say bass notes that play mostly roots, maybe the 5, maybe the 3 sometimes, but you know, roots are fine, and played maybe as whole notes or half notes on the strong beats. Strong beats being beat number 1 or beat number 3 in the event that we're dealing with a time signature of 4/4, which indeed this is. So we have 3 pickup notes that are played by themselves. When this note comes in, it's accompanied with an F. And again, the details, look in the information below. There's a PDF and there's a full video lesson that will teach you how to play this arrangement note for note with all the fingerings and everything. So you'll want to check that out. But anyway, so right away, we have a lot of choices. This is the A melody note. This is your F bass note that can be played here, can be played here, can be played like this if you want that lower F. This note can be played here as well. So you have this option or this option. So lots of different options. And what I like about this technique is that it does exactly that. You line up the melody, you line up the bass, and you don't worry about the rest. In fact, harmonically speaking, here's your root, here's your 3. What else do you need? One more note to complete a harmony. An interesting note is that harmony, in my view, is not only notes stacked on top of each other. Chords are not only notes that are stacked on top of each other like a cluster of notes together, but rather they can be played over time. So if you're playing like this figure, that's an F chord. I didn't play all the notes at the same time, but I did. I sustained the F bass and then I played. That's an F chord right there. The notes were not on top of each other, but they were played closely enough in time that to our ear they sound like they belong together. Anyway, let's get going here. That's your melody right there. And along with it, what we want to do is play that basic credible bass line that I described. What would that bass line be? Da, 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 da. What happened here is that last ta was syncopated. And right there is the most important point of this entire lesson. The G was syncopated, but this G, the bass note, came in on the beat right afterwards. Same thing here. I played this B flat and then the G. The B flat was syncopated and the G was on time. Right here again, another G melody note, syncopated and G. Let's put this together again. Now you tell me that didn't sound like the song already right there. You didn't have to know what the names of the chords were. You didn't have to know harmony or theory or anything. All you needed to do was play the melody as it needs to be played. And obviously there's 1,000 different ways that can be done on the guitar. And along with that melody, just play a bass note, on beats 1 and 3 as I described. This is such a great intuitive technique. You just need a thumb and a finger on your right hand. And all you got to do is separate those parts rhythmically. So each of these parts plays, with its own unique rhythm. Let's continue with the arrangement a little bit. That whole thing was syncopated melody notes and bass notes played on the beat. And I'm sure you can hear the song, basically. The song was right there. And that's even before adding any additional chord notes. So what about those chord notes? Well, here's an F and here's a melody note. Here are potential chord notes right here. Or this, or this, or if you're playing it here, it could be like this, or here. The point is that the chord notes will take care of themselves once you figure out where to play the melody and the bass. You're always going to find an appropriate chord note to fill in. And it doesn't have to be a full, we already said that we played the 1 and 3, here. How many more notes do you need? You can add this one, you can add a little color here, you can add a little color here or here. We're going to talk about all this stuff, but right now, I'd like your main focus to be on just playing the bass and the melody, and that will be a great start. Next time, on our next installment, we're going to talk about those chord notes and add another extremely useful tool to move the song forward rhythmically and fill in the time and the harmony by my chord arpeggiation technique, which I will reveal to you in the next video. So please make sure to subscribe. Please make sure to watch the previous video. Please look at all the links below, and please help support this endeavor if you're enjoying what you're seeing. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.